Okay, hey guys, we're going to be looking at important figures of the Civil War. Most of these people were generals, so they were actually involved with the fighting. We're actually going to do another presentation about abolitionists and people that were kind of on the outside or the fringe of the war. But it's important that you understand these people. There's two ways you can do this. The first way is to just do like your typical notes that you write down in class. The second way is to do a foldable. And I chose to do mine in a foldable because it took up less space and it kind of helped me to realize who I was talking about. You know, there's going to be some pictures. So if you're choosing to do the foldable, what I would like for you to do is print the pictures that are on the Weebly. They're under important documents. So they're actually exactly in order. So you can use those pictures to glue on the front of your foldable. Or if you're taking notes, I want you to have those pictures in your notebook somewhere so that you can recognize the faces. So if you're doing your foldable, you're going to fold your paper hot dog, leaving a little bit down at the bottom. And then you're going to cut so that you have 5 flaps. You're going to glue the pictures on the flaps. Some of the pictures you might have to trim up a little bit so that they fit, but for the most part they fit. You're going to put the name of the person that you see on this flap down here at the bottom, and then the information is going to go underneath. So I actually just have mine right here. This is what my final product looked like. So you can see the pictures, you've got the name, and you've got the information under all of the flaps. So that's a great study tool to use because some of these people can get a little bit confusing. Plus it helps you with some of that facial recognition. So keep that in mind while you're taking the notes about these important figures. So our first one is Robert E. Lee. This is his photograph. He was general of the Confederate Army, so he kind of controlled the Southern troops. He was alive from January 19th of 1807 to October 12th of 1870. He declined to lead the Union Army, so Abraham Lincoln actually offered him that position of being the general for the Union Army. He declined it because he was from Virginia. His home was in Virginia. He felt like that his loyalty should be to where his home was. His home is actually where Arlington National Cemetery is located now. Some of you may or may not have been there. So, you know, he had that offer to be a part, I guess, of the winning army, but it didn't end up working out that way for him. Our next person is Ulysses S. Grant. And Ulysses S. Grant was the general of the Union troops, or the troops that were fighting for the North. He was alive from April 27th of 1822 through July 23rd of 1885. He later became president of the United States. We're going to talk about him at a later point. So it's important that you recognize his face. Next up is Stonewall Jackson. He was alive from January 21st of 1824 to May 10th of 1863. So he did die while he was in battle. That's important to keep in mind. He's one of these only guys that we're going to talk about right now that died in battle. He was a Confederate general. He was considered to be Robert E. Lee's right-hand man. Robert E. Lee really, really liked and respected Stonewall Jackson. He was considered to be one of the premier military minds of the time. He got that nickname Stonewall from a previous battle in which his soldiers declared that he had stood like a stone wall, that nobody could break through his lines. But he did die after the Battle of Chancellorsville. He was shot in the shoulder, and as a result of that wound got infected and ended up with pneumonia and died from pneumonia, which, you know, a lot of people kind of laugh at, but we don't really understand that back in the 1860s, the medicine just wasn't as good as it is today. So they consider that gunshot wound as the major reason that he ended up dying, though he really died of pneumonia. Okay, Jefferson Davis was president of the Confederacy. He did not feel like he was well suited for the job. He didn't originally want to take it, but was kind of forced into it. He was really a person that was fixated on details, and one of the details that he was fixated on was this idea of having this foreign support from France and Great Britain. We talked about that in class, the idea of cotton diplomacy. That did not work. He did not get the support from France or Great Britain, and it ended up costing the Confederacy the war. So they ended up losing the war because Jefferson Davis really couldn't shift his mindset to the point where he was thinking of this idea outside of cotton diplomacy. And then finally we have William T. Sherman. He was a Union general. He was alive from February 8th of 1820 through February 14th of 1891. He was known for his march to the sea. Southerners in general did not look very fondly upon William Sherman because he essentially burnt down a lot of the major cities in the South, in a final path of the Civil War. But people in the North really liked him. So I guess it's just kind of dependent upon where you live, your feelings about William Sherman. But it's important that we know about this march to the sea because so much of the South was destroyed in this process, and because it's something that is a part of our curriculum. So it's interesting to look at both sides of that, which is an activity that we're going to look at in class as well. So go ahead and get these notes in a foldable. Make sure you've got the images because these faces are going to show up sometime in your future. And have a great night.